Yes. All right. So next up, we have Denise Hart, who is going to be doing a performance piece. So we're going to switch it up a little bit. All
Nice.
right. Let me get Denise.
So Denise is a professor at Howard University,
Yes, she is.
and
Denise is coming to the stage.
oh, she's listening and watching.
I'm so glad they're all enjoying the show. Denise,
What's up, y'all?
welcome.
Hello, a true Howard lady, true student of
Yes,
Howard.
she's an alum, she's a professor, and she's a supporter of the ladies of Howard University in this scholarship effort.
Yes, I am. Absolutely 100,000%, right? They say you bleed blue. I once dated a guy who said, you so into Howard, you want to live in the dorms, right?
Yep, I
Oh.
just live in the dorms now. So much
So,
fun.
Denise, tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a Howard alum, and I'm also a professor at Howard, and I've been a professor for 20 years, which is hard to believe. But yeah, I just love all things Howard. I used to live around the corner, and it was actually my favorite place to live because I could walk to work.
Wow. And what do you teach, Denise?
I teach theater, so I teach writing and analysis, all things storytelling, really.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so you're going to be doing a performance piece this evening.
Basically, I'm going to be telling a story, and I'm kind of like, really, it's an ode to the ancestors, and it's a piece that I'm calling "We Have Names and Proud Legacy." So, I
Yes.
hope that I hope folks get into it.
All right. Well, we are going to give you the stage.
Okay, awesome. All right, so
All
listen,
right.
everybody. Now, I don't know about you, but my family rarely talked about our ancestors. On my mother's side, our photos went back basically to my parents' generation and a few pictures of my grandmother and grandfather. My mother and my uncle were born, they were the youngest of seven. They were born in hospitals in Omaha, Nebraska, but everybody else was born in a house back down in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. My family simply never talked about who came before them. It was kind of like we sprang forth from my grandmother and that was it. But one year I did convince my grandmother to at least tell me her father, my great grandfather Commodore's name and whatever else she could remember. But honestly, it was really scant. But the bug to uncover, like, who are my kinfolk, just never left me. Remember, they've got names and powerful, proud legacies, and we have to never forget. Now, I am a proud graduate, as I said, of HU, but up until October 2019, I believe that my sister and I were the first in our family to attend and graduate from Howard. As I said, prior to that time, I knew very little about my ancestors, and for some reason, I just kind of assumed that they, lived a hard life back down in Arkansas, and that they were educated through basically middle or maybe even high school, but not college. However, through a seemingly random internet search in 2019, I stumbled upon an Arkansas genealogy page that had a short message that included the name of my great grandfather, Commodore P. Bailey. The P stands for Perry. Don't ask me why, but I searched for the person who had posted the message and I found her phone number. And yep, you got it. I called her on the phone, right? Totally bold. But she answered the phone and she was this totally sharp, totally with it 82-year-old, and she was my second cousin. I was blown away. She told me that my great grandfather Commodore was also her great grandfather Commodore. She said she had been researching the family genealogy for over 20 years, really pre internet, but that now it was my turn. She told me the ancestors are passing the baton to you. And she was so serious, it really like sent shivers up and down my spine. She said, you have a job to do. Now, through this serendipitous chat, I discovered that my family on my mother's side, my ancestors had records held in the special collection library section of Emory University. WTF? Really? Really? I was like, what? Who knew? My curiosity was so high, I booked a ticket and flew to Atlanta to research my ancestors. Now, I'm sure you guys have heard of the popular quote, I am my ancestors' wildest dream. You probably got the t shirt and and proudly you wear it as you should. Well, I do agree with the quote, but let me tell you what I discovered in the 25 boxes. Yes, 25 boxes of records held in the library special collections of Emory. Let me know that, at least for me, the saying is backwards, because the truth of the matter is my ancestors are my wildest dream. I just didn't know it yet. On my trip, I came to really understand that my ancestors are part of the 1% of Africans who survived the horrific and brutal experience of enslavement and being forcibly brought to this country. They survived being stacked like bags of grain, fed only enough to keep them barely alive, denied basic human dignity, and they survived the psychological and physical torture of slavery. My great grandfather, Commodore's baby brother, Isaac G. Bailey, born a slave in 1847, was the first black man to serve in the House of Representatives for the state of Arkansas. Yes, y'all, he was a key figure during black Reconstruction. His brothers, Commodore and James W. Bailey, were enslaved, and in the early 1840s, they were transported from Virginia to Arkansas to build the first towns in Arkansas County. Their father, Perry Bailey, my great great grandfather, he was manumitted by his slave owner upon the slave owner's death and given a certificate of freedom in 1825, a mere 9 years before my great grandfather Commodore Bailey was born in 1834. They have names and proud legacies, never forget. Now, back to my great uncle Isaac G. Bailey. His son, y'all listening? His son, Isaac Jr., was actually the first person in my family to attend the illustrious Howard University, and he graduated in 1916, and he was a member of the second initiated line for Omega Psi Phi. What? Come through? Okay? He doted on his little sister Susie, whom he really, really wanted to attend Howard. And I'm going to share just a little snippet of a letter that I copied from the archives that he wrote to his mother in September 6, 1915. He said, "Dear Mama, your letter came Saturday. I do not know just what to advise you about Susie. It seems so bad to have her go out to the training school again. She cannot learn anything much out there except domestic work. What she studied those 4 months she was out there did not help her any when she entered graded school. I had to drill her and drill her continuously. I don't think it's much cheaper there than it is boarding in the girls' dormitory of Howard, and she would be where she could have excellent instruction. Howard Academy is just the same as M Street High School, and Susie can really be advanced in her schoolwork. Now, briefly, Susie's expenses at Howard would be $13 per month, room and board. I do not know what the expenses are at the training school, as Miss Burrows would certainly look after her about as good as you or I could. I would want to be near her in the city, and if she rooms at Minor Hall at Howard, I would want a room in Clark Hall so I could see her constantly. Now, I am simply writing you about conditions. You can best judge what is best to do after I present them to you." This letter tickled me so, because I said, oh, he was clearly earnest and persuasive, both qualities that would have served him well in any endeavor. Unfortunately, he passed away in 1918 at the age of 28 after becoming the first black person to be named chief clerk for the Selective Service Board in D.C. They have names, y'all, and proud legacies. Never forget. In those boxes, I discovered so much. Seeds of dreaming and hope and curiosity and determination and excellence and success that were planted and sowed into the ground of Howard University by my ancestor, Isaac G. Bailey Jr., long before my sister and I set foot on the hallowed ground of HU, you know. All that time I was a student, I believed I was doing something that just wasn't done in our family, but I had it all wrong. Secrecy had kept me separate from the brilliance and legacy of my history. What I discovered that day sent me on a treasure hunt that continues to this day. I decided that me and my ancestors, we're in this together. The legacy of their determination and the memory of their tenacity, intellect, and ingenuity helped pave the way for me to be their wildest dream. I carry their DNA in my body. I carry that identity of the first ancestor who was a member of the 1%, and I multiply that identity through my son Julian, who attended Howard. And as a professor at Howard, I multiply that identity through every student I touch and help to transform their life and get them to manifest their dreams. I stand on their shoulders, and now I know who they are. They have names and faces and a litany of experiences and accomplishments that I am committed to celebrating forever. If you haven't done so, go find your people and celebrate them. If you already know your ancestors, celebrate them regularly and effusively because we have names, y'all, and proud legacies. Never, ever forget. Thank you, everybody. Now, give. If you give 1867, if you give $100, give what you can. Go to the link. Make sure you give and go find your people.
Denise,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you for dropping that knowledge.
You're so welcome.
Oh,
Thank you, everybody.
thank you, Denise. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening.
Wow.
Right.
Make sure to give
Okay.
my
Yeah.
grandmother. She lived in slow
Wow.
hell.
Did you hear how much the cost of living was at Howard University? I think she said 13 cents a month. My
Back then, right?
Well,
Oh man.
yes. So inflation, which is why we're here. We are raising money for scholarships because that tuition has gone up, the cost of living has gone up, and our students are struggling to pay tuition and pay room and board. Did you know that graduates of historically black colleges and universities take on 32% more debt than their peers at other colleges? And black women bear the most student debt than any other group. That's why we're so passionate about starting a scholarship for young ladies at Howard University. Won't you join us? Please give. Please give. All right, so next up, we're actually going to hear from a current student at Howard University, Miss Hagen Creer.
Hi, my name is Hagen Creer. I am currently a rising senior supply chain management major from Las Vegas, Nevada, and I'm here to tell you the importance of donating to the Ladies of Howard University Scholarship. Being a student, if I were able to win the scholarship from the Ladies of Howard University, it would make such a tremendous impact as it would allow me to focus primarily on my studies. I think that's something that as a college student, you have the burden of finance and stress from adapting to a new environment, and I think the least of our concerns should be whether we have time to study for a test or not, and not if we are going to be there the next semester. So by you donating to this amazing scholarship, you're going to take that burden off of several students like myself, and I will be able to have time to focus on my studies and flourish in my supply chain major. So make sure you donate $18.67 to the link below and share this video to spread the word. Thank you so much for your support.
Yes.
Yes, from the future. She is the future. These ladies are the future, and our future is good in good hands. Let's help them get their education.